Thank you. Please stand by. You will now be placed into conference.
During the initial slide sequence. Then, if you have questions during the presentation, the first half an hour, feel free to type those in, and Cass and Pat Tooker, so Cass Freedland and Pat Tooker, who are the other panelists, they can respond by typing the answers if either one of them knows the answers, or if they don't know the answers and want to look like they know the answers, they can type something in.
Or I'll type something in.
Or Barbara can type something in. And then we will have interaction afterwards where they unmute the phone. So we can either do it electronically or phone, and one of us can answer. So with that, I want to move forward. So I'm going to, so let me ask a very naive question. As I move the cursor across the screen, does everybody see that cursor, or just me?
Just you. Just you.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so there was my first technological lesson. Okay, now I'm on slide 2. So for the next half an hour, these are the 4 areas that we really want to touch upon, and then we can go into more deeply in the question and answer period. Because even though we're coming from Wagner College, we are not touting Wagner College as the end-all, be-all, having all the answers. But I will be giving you some examples through Wagner College of bumps in the road, how we've overcome them, and what's been successful or not successful. So the 4 areas that we want to touch upon are difficulties in sustaining civic engagement, so that it's broad and it's deep on the campus and in the community. The second area that I really want you to have greater information is an initiative across campus at Wagner called Civic Innovations that I'll be talking about quite a bit, and this is what this entire initiative has been funded by Learn and Serve. So I can't tell you how excited, enthusiastic I am about this initiative, how it's taking off, how it's now sustainable, and it would not have happened if it hadn't been for the funding from Learn and Serve and the advice that Learn and Serve gave us at the beginning, and how they've helped to support us sort of intellectually and professionally throughout this whole process. The third thing we're going to touch upon is sort of, if we said Civic Innovations 1.0, now we're moving to Civic Innovations 2.0, which is Port Richmond area, and I will go into that more in depth when I get there. And finally, which I think everyone always asks us about, is how did we get the upper administration, the faculty, the staff, and the students to have equal and deep commitment for civic engagement on our campus so that it's supported across and by all. Now moving to slide 3. How's my pace, Barbara?
Good.
Okay.
Probably need to pick it up a little.
Okay, pick it up. That's Barbara. She's good at telling me, pick it up. Okay. I think one time she came to visit me at home and said, you've got clothes all over, pick them up. So at Wagner College, as at other colleges, here's what we saw as the basic difficulties in sustaining civic engagement, deep and wide. We have campus issues, we have community issues. The campus issues are that some faculty are engaged, but they don't always teach the same courses, so it's sort of episodic. The students participate in a course, and then the course is finished. The individual faculty may be committed, but they're a collection of faculty in a department, so you don't have departmental commitment, and the faculty in the department aren't talking to one another about what they're doing with the community. And finally, you do not, and this was critical, you do not have ongoing sort of connections from the agency to the faculty and the institution. So the community issues have been that the agencies do not always know the level and the abilities of students that are coming to them, so they don't know how to use them. They don't know how long students are coming or when they're coming, or even if they're going to show up for maybe one semester, nobody's going to come, and maybe the next semester they are going to come. And the agencies do not know the expectations of the institution. And one little sort of editorial sidebar, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, actually, when I first came to Wagner College, we had a consultant come in and we interviewed students who had been in the community and agencies who had been working with Wagner College. And what we found was the students said we loved what we were doing, but we weren't sure why we were doing it, and we weren't sure what it had to do with the class itself. It was great that we were in the community, but we didn't know, and we didn't have any ongoing sort of interaction with the agency after the semester. And then the agencies said everything I just said to you in those 3 bullets. So based on that, we said we really need to do broad, deep, consistent, uniform, and predictable. And these are the things that we are now going to. So we found out the pitfalls for the agency and the institution, based on what I said in the last slide, was there was a lack of communication prior to the term. Who's coming, why they're coming, and what they're able to do. There was a lack of communication during the term. Why are they, throughout the term, what are the students needing and wanting, and what are they expecting? And after the term ended, there wasn't much follow-up. And between terms, there was very little follow-up if anybody was even coming the following term. The students' most common frustrations that they told us is that they didn't know how the activity connected directly to the learning outcomes in the course. They did not know exactly what the professor expected from them in the agency or what the agency expected from them, and they did not have enough time to have follow-up or reflection in the class or with the agency, and they kept saying, what's the purpose? It's good, but tell me what my purpose is for doing whatever I'm doing in the community. The institutional pitfalls were that the administration was saying that civic engagement is very important, but how does the administration support us in what we're doing? How do we, the administration says important, but put your money where your mouth is. Do we see it in promotion? Do we see it in tenure? Do we see it in merit raises? What's in it for us? The faculty participate, but they did not always have the financial or the developmental support to do well what they wanted to do. And third, there needed to be, in the promotion and tenure process, there needed to be something that helps reward them for participating in the civic engagement activities. So how did Wagner College address all these issues? Well, first of all, the Wagner College said, okay, let's write this grant. And the grant was to Learn and Serve. And actually, we had feedback from Learn and Serve that they said, yeah, what you're doing is something that is very creative and it will address all of these issues. So what we did was we created 2 things, community-connected departments and department-connected agencies, where one department connects with one agency, and from freshman, sophomore, junior, senior level, the students in that department in those courses developmentally work with the department-connected agency on items that the agency needs to meet their constituents' needs at the developmental level of the student. So agency's needs are met, student learning outcome is met, and everybody knows why they're participating together in the project. So, what are the outcomes to these frustrations? One, we have actually documented tremendous, significantly increased trust and respect between the community-connected departments and the department-connected agencies. We have embedded the civic engagement activities and subsequent scholarship related to that in the promotion and tenure process. And by having Learn and Serve fund the original grant, it added legitimacy to what we were trying to do on campus. The Wagner Mission, Wagner College has about 2,000 undergraduate students and about 350 graduate students. We're located on Staten Island in New York City, and as you can see, we believe that our mission is to prepare students for life, for careers, scholarship, achievement, leadership, and citizenship. So, and the undergraduate plan at Wagner College has learning communities at the freshman, at the sophomore, junior, and at the senior level, and embedded in the freshman and the senior level learning communities has always been a civic engagement requirement. But the problem was, as I said at the beginning, that it was episodic and people didn't really see the connection between the course and the agency and the purpose of what they were doing. So when we said we were going to write the last grant, and I actually wrote the last grant 3 years ago for Learn and Serve, in reviewing what was needed in the community, we saw that there was a large dropout rate, that there was a lot of unemployment among youth, that not everybody was considering going on to college, and that there were a lot of low-income families and at-risk young adults. So you can see that there was substance abuse, gambling, graffiti, and gang involvement, pregnancy, STDs, smoking, obesity, and unintentional injuries, trauma. And there were many more undocumented youth. There was a big cultural divide, and there were not enough community resources to meet the needs of the youth. So we grounded the last round of the Learn and Serve in the needs of the youth. And we entitled it Civic Innovations because we wanted this to be innovative, civically engaged in the community, community-connected departments, department-connected agencies around the needs of youth on Staten Island. So we looked across the island. And this slide just reiterates everything I just said. That's why we created Civic Innovations. It has two very important building blocks. It's curricularly grounded. It's community connected. One community connected department with one department connected agency, a 3-year partnership. So one department is committed to working with one agency for 3 years, one agency with that one department for 3 years. We started out the first year with 2 departments. The second year we added 2 additional departments, and the third year we added 2 additional departments, resulting in 6 departments, and the first departments were required to help mentor the subsequent departments. And then, this is a little repetitive, faculty in one department with one community-connected agency. Every department, every course in every department had to meet with the agency prior to the semester beginning, so that the course did not come in and say, the faculty did not come in and say, okay, we're here to help you do X. The faculty met with all the faculty met with the agency and said, what are your needs? The agency said, we have X, Y, and Z need. And then the department said, okay, we have this course, this course, this course, and this course. They can work developmentally in a scaffolded way to meet the needs of the agency. So it's 4 courses from the senior year down to the freshman year, meeting with the agency, and then 2 courses in the fall semester, 2 courses in the spring semester. And every year you have this growing trust and reliance upon one another, the department and the agency, to meet the agency's needs, and the student learning outcomes related to the discipline in the department. So the 6 departments were, the 6 community-connected departments, nursing, business, political science, education, history, and sociology and anthropology are one department. Nursing connected for 3 years with United Activities Unlimited, an after-school program agency. Business connected with the YMCA. Political science with Project Hospitality, which is a not-for-profit that works with the indigent and the underserved. Education with the New York City Public Schools. History with the African Refugee Center. And sociology and anthropology with Community Health Action. As you can see, the nursing department and Pat Tooker, who is one of the panelists, who's the acting chair in the nursing department, will be able to answer a lot of questions if you have specific questions about the nursing department and what they did. But the freshman level, with the United Activities Unlimited, they tutored students in after-school programs at Public School 18 on Staten Island. The sophomores worked with the students in UAU on health issues. The juniors worked with higher-level programs in the schools, and the seniors actually set up and served in health clinics in the schools. We have students reflect throughout each of the courses, and we captured one quote that this is one of many, many quotes. But here's an example of how a student who tutored, here was her reflection. Before I went to Public School 18, I thought experiential learning was just going to be a job where I went, basically, because I had to. I just wanted to clock in and clock out as fast as possible. However, when I went to PS Public School 18, my thoughts about the experience were completely altered. I had such a great time and really connected with the kids. Now I realize that experiential learning is for me to impact the lives of these kids, and it's also for them, in turn, to impact me. So we thought that began to capture the mutuality and the mutually beneficial relationship and impact that students, agencies, departments, and agencies have on one another. When we talk about support that is needed, this cannot happen without deep, deep support. So Cass Freedland, who came on as project director, has done a marvelous job with Civic Innovations, is now the director for our Center for Leadership and Service. She, throughout this entire 3 years, has provided seminars, summer symposia, has helped co-author and author publications. She has worked specifically on community-based research. She links the college with community, and she's done additional faculty development. So for us, part of our success is that we have one person who is completely dedicated to this initiative and to making this work across the whole campus. That's a critical piece. Then we have what kind of assessment have we done throughout? Obviously, faculty interviews, community partner interviews, interviewed students extensively, had individual interviews and student focus groups, actual observations in the community partnership, so you've got direct observation as well as survey, direct work samples, and done assessment of the work samples, interviews with our administrative staff, and ongoing many, many, many surveys having to do with attitude change, pre and post, and disciplinary learning. So here are some of our results, sort of our overarching results from these first 3 years. Our students report that they're more comfortable in diverse populations than they were prior to doing Civic Innovations. They feel a strong sense of personal and social responsibility outside the classroom. They believe that community-based work should be a standard part of not every college classroom, but threaded throughout the curriculum. 62% of the students felt that the experience with Civic Innovations helped them understand not only the community needs, but actually the disciplinary content better. And 78% of the students report that their experience helped them to sort of connect overall with their college coursework. And you can see that 70% of these students felt that it helped them learn effective communication skills. 58% said that, in particular, with these diverse populations, they felt much more comfortable and willing to go in to interact with the underserved and the underrepresented populations. 58% felt that they want to be more active in community problem solving. 64% said the strong personal and social responsibility. 46% reported that they had volunteered prior to the community-based learning course, but they wanted to continue, and 55% said they wanted to continue. So what's the next phase? Well, what we found was the community-connected department and the department-connected agency is a phenomenal model because faculty within a department who had previously not necessarily talked to one another about their discipline or about their courses, but I talked more about, okay, what course are you teaching when and at what time on what day? We're now actually talking about the content of their courses, relating it to the community. So, and the agencies felt much more trust and ongoing relationship with the institution. So we said the next step, rather than, I don't want to say diluting, but spreading ourselves across the island and into Manhattan and into New Jersey, let's choose one area of the island that is one of the most underserved so we can have all of our community-connected departments with department-connected agencies in one area of the island so we'll have a much deeper impact. And Freedland has done a remarkable job of identifying the not-for-profit agencies in the area of Port Richmond and beginning the community-connected department concept, which is now widely accepted on campus, with the department agencies in the Port Richmond area. So she has set up committee after subcommittee, establishing a solid base for the community wanting this to happen and the institution wanting this to happen. Though I have to put in parentheses, you are not required to be part of Civic Innovations. You can be in another part of the island or anywhere else that you want to be. This is for departments and individuals who want to be part of this. So we've got in Port Richmond area the community-connected departments, the department-connected agencies. It's one geographic area, and we're building in assessment and sustainability. So finally, how do we make sure that the upper administration, the faculty, the staff, and the students are all committed to this together, and it's not just everybody saying, oh, Devorah Lieberman wants this to happen, or a particular department wants this to happen, that we're all in this equally? Well, the first is that the upper administration helped design this, is not responsible for the evolution of it or people taking charge of it, but began with the design, supported it financially, and was in the front of saying this must be added to the promotion and tenure guidelines. The faculty have stepped up and they've said we want to connect it to the discipline. We see that it has great impact on student and student learning. The faculty have helped design the next iteration, and the faculty have welcomed it in the promotion and tenure guideline process. The staff have helped to design, and now that we are having portfolio development, they've helped put it into portfolios. The students have come forward and said, here's what needs to happen to have it be more effective, and they're connecting it to their academics, and they're saying, we see purpose, it provides purpose for us, so we want to be part of it. And there was one more slide that will show up at the end when this is posted on the website, but the last slide was, in hindsight, what would we have done differently? My answer would be that we would have done very, very little differently. We would have probably done more on campus, visibly showing sort of what we had attained so more people could be part of it. But it was very interesting. When we presented this in the fall, what the results of this and what the individual departments had accomplished, when we presented this to many departments on campus in the fall, the departments that had not been a part of the original Civic Innovations stood up and said, what can we do to be part of the next iteration, which is the next Port Richmond, Civic Innovations Port Richmond. And if there's any lesson or if there's any evidence, if there's any evidence of success, to me the evidence is when people say, we want more of what's already happening and we want to be part of helping to make it better. So, it's 2:30, and I said we'd be done at 2:30. So, perfect. Now, Barbara,
Yes.
I think we can unmute the phones, and is the next part to have people ask questions electronically or to ask questions over the phone? How does that work?
We can do it either way. So I'm happy to have people unmute their phones and pose questions. I have one while people are finding where their mute button is. What are the ongoing cost issues associated with this programmatic partnership, sort of committed departments, committed partner models that you're using?
Ongoing cost issues. Well, I'm going to throw some out from my perspective, and then Cass can add more because she's sort of on the ground living it every day. So here's a cost issue for me is faculty. I want faculty to take this as seriously as I do. Let me just put it that way. So when a faculty member has a paper accepted at a national conference, a cost for me is that I will help that faculty, I will help pay the way for the faculty member to go to that conference. So that's I've set aside money every year because I want faculty to feel that this will help them financially. It's not out of their pocket. And so that has been my biggest cost financially. Cass Freedland, who was hired as the project director, is now on partial hard money for the campus and will eventually be on complete hard money. I would like to say after these economic times that we're all facing. And I hope Cass is sitting on her phone smiling.
I
right
am
now.
smiling broadly.
Okay. I said that publicly, so there we go. But so the two big things are that I think you need a person dedicated to this, and you need to support the faculty in their scholarship areas, whatever that means. Cass, can you add to sort of your daily financial that would need to take place?
Yes, I can. I can add actually three things. The first thing that's really shown itself to be extraordinarily important is in faculty development to bring in specialists in the individual disciplines of which departments that you're working with, and particularly folks who do a great deal of civic involvement, to bring them in fairly regularly to have discussions with that discipline or that department, to show new and creative ways that they might think about extending their curriculum into the community. It's wonderful to have the department talk among themselves, but particularly for those who don't have a long-lived history with civic engagement, the discussion can wind down fairly quickly. So we found, I know Barbara was kind enough to come in one semester and talk to faculty and bring up many very interesting questions for the campus to debate. So that is a cost, in addition to, of course, sending the faculty out, bringing people onto campus so that you can pull whole groups of students and faculty together. Secondly, I would say that the idea of stipends, of course, I know, Devorah, you sort of intimated that, I guess, with sending people out, but to offer some sort of a stipend to faculty for this type of work, whether just a one-time thing in course development or some kind of small ongoing stipend, because there really is a great deal of work that does need to be done between the faculty member and the community partner. They're in constant contact. And so growing, it's almost like a marriage. Growing and becoming old together is something that does take work, and it recognizes the tremendous work that the faculty are doing. And
the other piece, I wanted to just add one thing around that. The first year, this first round, we actually gave stipends to the community agencies. And the second round, we found that we're not going to do that because the agency, the stipending doesn't really add anything more to the agency. They would do it with enthusiastically with or without a stipend. So go ahead, Cass.
Right. then the third one are just materials. As the faculty and the students develop the courses, the students will increasingly be developing some sort of tools or materials or handouts or brochures that then can be distributed back to the department and within the community. And so you want to make sure that you have a budget that helps the programs themselves grow and the products of those partnerships to be able to put those into print and to be able to distribute those as well.
Devorah, Kathy Sims has asked a question that really fits well. You mentioned that you gave stipends actually to community partners as well. She's asking how were the community partners selected that would get paired with each department? How and who made that decision, since it gets a little tricky when you're actually giving money to the community on what's your process, so that people who aren't formal partners with a department don't feel excluded.
So I'll start that, and I'll let Cass pick it up, and then it would be great if Pat, who chairs the department, one of the original departments, picked up on that as well. So when I first started writing the original grant 3 years ago, more now, 4 years ago, I looked around the campus and I said, which two departments are most likely to be successful? Because I didn't want to invite a department that said, that I thought would not say, oh, we feel really comfortable in the community and we could get around this model. So I went to the two department chairs, nursing and political science, and said, we're putting together this model. Would you be willing to be the initial partners or community-connected departments? And each chair said, yes, we will do it. And an important lesson learned, if the department chair is not supportive, it's very hard to get the whole department. And this sounds silly because everybody thinks faculty are so independent, which is true, but when a department chair says to their faculty, we want to be part of this, or do we want to be part of this and I'm supportive, it's much more likely to be successful. Our departments where the department chair was not 100% in support of their department being involved were our departments that we had the most trouble sort of getting everybody on board with. So those first two departments, political science and nursing, they independently, we said, with whom do you want to partner? So nursing said we would like to partner with United Activities Unlimited because they had a little bit of a previous relationship, and I'll let Pat talk about that. And political science wanted to partner with Project Hospitality because Project Hospitality has tremendous impact on this entire area, and they knew that they could help Project Hospitality with their policy development, whether it was locally or working with sort of trying to get national grant funding or national funding. So they felt they could have the greatest impact. So they then sort of came forward and said, these are our two areas. And I had also connected with them prior and said, would you be willing to work with departments? So at the beginning, it was sort of, it wasn't sort of a department stepping up and saying, yeah, I want to be part of this. I asked the department and sort of set them up with the agencies. So, Cass, do you want to follow that up? And then, Pat, would you like to talk about nursing?
Sure. So in successive years after that first group of two departments, I started some groundwork of going to community groups. I was invited to several large community organizational gatherings. And I did a great deal of work of talking about civic innovation and what we were hoping to accomplish, and sort of learned about many of the organizations, large and small, around Staten Island. Found out which ones would be really interested in becoming, sort of an educational partner with us, with the understanding that we have this sort of mutually beneficial relationship, that they're giving something to us and we, of course, are providing something for them. And so when it came time for the second and third rounds, I simply sent around a request for proposals, an RFP, and asked departments to apply. And then each of those times then we had actually two groups that applied each time, so we didn't have to select really any additional departments. And the ones that came on board were ones that had been community active in some way. So for instance, our second grouping, we had the history department. They had been working in our Park Hill neighborhood, one of our neighborhoods. And so they jumped on board very readily. It's essential to have the department itself select the community partner, not to make it something that comes sort of from the top down. We have had some of our departments that did not have a great deal of experience with one community partner. In that case, because I had sort of a clutch of community organizations that I knew about from going out into the field, I would set up almost sort of a dating session where I would bring in a community partner one at a time and have the faculty speak with these different organizations and to see where they might have these commonalities. And so that was a very worthwhile sort of a discussion as well, because you could see that there were some organizations that were simply too small to be able to accommodate the number of students that we were speaking of, and also couldn't accommodate that sort of, as Devorah had said, that developmental model. They were very good at having volunteer stuff envelopes, but they couldn't understand that at a senior level, a student needed to do something much more complicated, for instance, conducting a community asset map or doing these sorts of things. So we really learned by being in constant touch with the partners and having our faculty speaking with our partners before deciding that that was a very large factor in it. And Pat, do you want to speak as a departmental chair and a member of the Civic Innovation?
Sure. Baccalaureate programs in nursing by nature are very linked with the community. We are preparing the nurse not only for the future in the healthcare industry, but we're preparing the future nurse educator, nurse research, and really the nurse that can enter the healthcare arena in a variety of settings. So it was really a natural fit for the nursing department to be in the forefront of this program, and there wasn't a great deal of difficulty. Actually, we had to look to see what community agency or what community partner we really wanted to establish ourselves with a truer partnership. A few years prior to Civic Innovations, our entire baccalaureate program had switched over to what was called a community-based nursing curriculum, which in itself had us linking more deeply, more intricately with a community of need. So this came shortly afterwards. It was just a matter of looking to see what courses could link with a community partner in a variety of courses, because the students in the nursing program obviously have a variety of skill and knowledge depending upon what class they're in. So the UAU, the United Activities Unlimited, is an agency that was known to the nursing department, and we had throughout the past either attended some of their sessions, if you will, or we knew of the schools in the different communities and what their needs were. So in that respect, there was not difficulty on our part. It was the most difficulty, I would have to say, was trying to see what courses fit best with the population that we were serving, because UAU is dispersed throughout grade schools, middle schools, and even high schools. So a particular course, perhaps a pediatric course, would be ideal for the grade school or middle school, but we had to look perhaps at the higher level community assessment course, of which a junior or perhaps senior level nursing student could go into a UAU setting that was dealing with youth at risk, perhaps in the high school programs, to address more significant health care and learning needs like perhaps pregnancy in teens, STDs, and higher rates of morbidity mortality across the lifespan.
Okay. Kate, you've put your hand up. Do you have a question?
I do, and can you hear me?
Yes.
I wasn't able to find the mute function.
Yeah, and I can't find the hand thing that Barbara just said.
There's a lower hand, raise hand thing, yeah.
Is that cute?
It's very cute.
Kate, go for it.
My name's Kate Westek. I work at the University of Vermont Partnership Center, and I'm really interested in the sort of agency to department model, and I see a lot of strengths with it. My concern, at least with the faculty that I work with, and I've done some department level work, is the faculty independence, and the fact that many of them have existing partnerships through their research or people that they've been working with courses. Was that something that you encountered, and how did you overcome that and address that?
So, Kate, you're talking about faculty resistance?
Faculty resistance to sort of committing to working with one agency for 3 years across the curriculum because individuals have existing partnerships.
Right. Well, I'll begin that, and I'll be very short because Cass works then with the whole department,
okay,
and Pat can give you specific examples in her department.
Okay.
So when we say community-connected department, I want to make clear that it would probably be one course at the freshman level, one course at the sophomore, junior level, maybe two, and one course at the senior level.
Okay.
But every department has many, many courses, so it doesn't mean that somebody who's got an established deep relationship with one agency, that's not this sort of agency of choice for the department, it doesn't mean they can't continue that other partnership with that other agency. We just want to make sure that the agency of choice that is the department-connected agency has 3 or 4 classes from one department that they can count on coming every term. It doesn't have to be every course in that department. So
that's actually an excellent answer, if I could just jump in, Devorah, because that was precisely some of the initial responses from some of the senior faculty who, in their own area of specialty, had deeply rooted relationships with some agencies that still exist in the communities, in and around the communities that we were going to now be partnering, more deeply with. So there had to be this very open discussion with the faculty, and again, at Wagner, we don't have a lot of faculty in the nursing department, but nevertheless, to keep everyone calm and say, yes, this is a newer type of curricula formatting. However, we're not asking for people to sever the ties with those agencies that they have been with for many years. And as Devorah had said, it's only 3 courses out of many, and not all courses are a natural fit for this model. So there were some faculty, if you will, that kind of automatically were out of the picture, if you can imagine that, because their course really just did not relate to the objectives that we were outlining for this partnership. On another note, just very briefly, most of the resistance that I dealt with in the beginning was within the nursing curriculum itself, and all of the time constraints that we have in and around our didactic, our course content, and the clinical hours that must be distributed quite succinctly throughout the curriculum, and we have to maintain a very strong clinical presence hour-wise in order to remain within our accreditation. So that was the juggle. Particularly the courses that fit into this model had quite a lot of time constraints in itself. So we include myself and a few of the faculty that worked with me to get this to really get off the ground, had to look to see where we could free up time for this newer endeavor, if you will.
And I think, Kate, this is Cass, hi. I think that one of the really important things, if there's one word to sum up where the program is most successful, is in its flexibility. And I can tell you that working with Learn and Serve, and particularly with my program officer, Meredith, is that Learn and Serve has been tremendously open to the ideas that these partnerships take a great deal of time. We have had one department that its match with the community partner just did not work. It did not work that year, and we moved on to a different community partner. So what I found is that in the flexibility of allowing the departments themselves to decide which courses work the best, allowing them to pick the specific community partner, and then, in fact, allowing it to grow almost organically in a way that the faculty member, as they sit down and talk with the community partner and beginning to see commonalities between the partner and the program itself, it grows slowly but fairly naturally as they grow to sort of respect one another, and the learning outcomes of one meet the organizational outcomes of the other. So if I were to say anything, it would be to be very flexible, to don't necessarily stick to a piece of paper that you've written what the sort of expectations of your faculty and the community partners are, to allow that to grow, and to just sort of have fun with it, and to roll with it, I guess, would be the best way to say.
I want to follow up on what Cass is saying, because I'm looking at Julie's last question, and she says, what implications does this have on other areas of experiential learning and community-based work, study, etc.? So following up on what Cass said about having it become organic, if I, as a provost, had come in and had said, I want to make this model the only model on campus, that would have never passed the Faculty Senate, ever. But by saying, I have this idea, would two departments like to be on board and give it a shot, it has evolved organically, and I have been able to step back, and the faculty and the departments have stepped forward. And now the faculty have taken it on. So in addition to, remember, the freshman level and the senior level, students are required to do, at the freshman level, students are required to do 30 hours of experiential learning in the community. And at the senior level, they have to do 100 hours related to their major. So the 30 hours at the freshman level, some were working in nursing homes, the faculty would say, go out and do 30 hours and just let me know at the end of the semester and write a reflection. And it was very sort of hit and miss, happenstance, not very consistent. So rather than the provost coming in and saying, it has to be consistent this way, I said, that's not a very collaborative way to have things change on campus. I thought by having Learn and Serve come in with this legitimacy by funding this new model, then faculty, two departments could take it on, and then the other faculty would look and say, that worked for them. Could this work for us? And now organically, it's sort of weaving its way through the curriculum without having to be a policy change in the Faculty Senate.
And faculty who are not involved in civic innovation, for instance, in Pat's case in her freshman learning community, where she's doing a course in health aspects, and she's teamed, I'll let her speak about it, with a faculty member in chemistry, he's not part of civic innovation. They co-teach, but after the first year, he saw how well her students connected with their experience in the community with UAU and their reflective pieces. He was sending his students to a different placement, and now all the students in their LC, even though he's not part of it, are doing UAU. So she almost, without saying you must be part of this, he saw that the model worked well. And so that's another one that has influenced it. And also we've had faculty now who see that just sitting down and beginning to talk about these partnerships is something that they're willing to dip their toe in to do, and they want to work with incarcerated individuals now on Staten Island, folks who are in our history department who had never done this before. So I think they're seeing that there's an excitement to it, but again, it has to come from the faculty member.
Right, and the last thing is, as much development has gone in with supporting the faculty, the same, if not more development, has to be devoted to the community partner, because the community partners have as many misunderstandings, myths, and just not a crystal understanding of what it means to be a partner with a department or an institution. So it's a tremendous learning experience for everybody.
And Devorah, adding to that, I'll never forget when we first started Civic Innovation and you know, the wonderful vision that Devorah has for the program and how we were going to lift students and move them, you know, from being very poor performing students to very high performing students at the top of their class. And I'll never forget a community partner who came in to speak with the faculty and said, you know, your expectations are different than our expectations. Your expectations are for these children to move up 3 or 4 different grades. Our expectation is for these kids to go on to the next grade. You know, we don't want them. We just want them to move from an F to a D or a D to a C. And for us, that's a measure of success. And so the faculty and the school understanding realistically what the community partner considers to be successful is very, very important to motivate the faculty member to understand that they're not underachieving the community partner if the kids don't graduate top of the class. And the community partner, in effect, is teaching us that just by going and helping in small, very significant ways, we are doing what we're supposed to be doing. And so that's the learning curve, too.
Julie also had as part of her question, has there been an impact on community-based work study?
I don't know if we have community-based work study at Wagner.
Okay. We have started to really expand our work study. We're building in the last particularly year and a half. We have many more work study opportunities, and it's something that I have to say that it's, as with the faculty, there is a growth within the campus that needs to occur to really steer students and really push them toward these opportunities. So I would say that we are growing, but we really do need to do more education within our campus to really bring those to fruition.
Okay.
Okay.
Other questions?
Yes. Well, I'm looking for a hand, one of those little hands. Oh, Kristen.
Was all together on one paper. Oh, okay.
Question?
Kirsten Breckenridge.
Yes, Elson, I think, and I had crafted a question, and we were sort of wondering. You've talked about it a little bit, but what you considered your measures for success, and where you see the program in 5 years, or where you'd like to see the program in 5 years, for you to consider that it was a complete success.
I'll kick that off, and I'll let Cass put some icing on that cake. For us to say, for me to say this is successful, here are the kinds of things I want to see. I would like to see that this is sustained on the campus without having to have external funding to make it happen. I would like to see that the faculty are enthusiastic about doing this because it's the right thing to do and not necessarily related to a stipend. I would like to see as outcomes that we actually measure courses that have the Civic Innovations component and those related courses that don't have a Civic Engagement Innovations component, and to see if student learning outcomes in the discipline are actually enhanced because of the civic engagement that they actually did. I'd like to be able to measure attitudes toward working with diverse communities and feeling a personal commitment to be civically engaged in your profession following your graduation. And I would like to actually measure from the constituents' perspective how many students completed grade school, middle school, high school, went on to college, what were the impact on of the health in the community and economic impact. So I think we're well on our way through Civic Innovations, asking the right questions and measuring. So my big measure of success is that you do all of this without additional external funds. And my final measure, as I'm just sort of randomly speaking, is that I see more and more scholarship coming out of the faculty and faculty-student scholarship related to the Civic Innovations activities.
And And I will add to that I would love to, in addition to all of those things, I'd also love to see the students at our campus who are very civically engaged individuals do more work together with the 2 other local campuses. I think that if we mobilize the students from the 3 local colleges here together, they all have different perspectives. I think that would be very powerful. And I also would consider it to be very successful if we get sort of an increased call from community organizations to partner with them on a variety of grants, both local and national.
Which we have, right.
Pardon me, yeah. We have a Civic Innovation. We have several agencies just this spring who stepped up once they learned about this partnership, that the Port Richmond Partnership, who stepped forward and are asking us to be partners on various initiatives that they have. So I would add those sort of community components into it.
And I know that it's just about 3 o'clock, so the message that I'd like to leave with all the webinar participants is that there are these new models, such as Civic Innovations, that fit the institution and the community. And when you have an idea for a model, bring it forward, get a few people to participate in it, and use those people to be your ambassadors for everyone else, and patience, because it's just like change theory. It happens slowly, continuously, and each person that's on this phone call, these are the leaders on the campus and in the community, and we have to believe in the process and in our product.
Okay. And then total number of agencies.
Any last comments from our colleagues at the corporation and Learn and Serve?
Number of faculty.
We would just like to thank you for hosting this and also suggesting this webinar. We think it's quite successful, and we look forward to more like it.
So for those of you on the webinar phone call that are in driving distance from New York City, we welcome you as campus visitors. And when this is posted, because we had this technology glitch today, this wasn't the final draft. Each of our emails are on the final draft, and those will be posted on the Learn and Serve website. If you don't get to that, you can, I am Devorah.Lieberman at Wagner.edu. Pat is P. Tooker at Wagner.edu. And Cass is Cassia.Freedland at Wagner.edu. So we are here, in a spirit of engagement to engage with you in any way that helps you.
Thank you, presenters. Thank you, friends. It's great to have these familiar, wonderful voices on the phone, and thank you, all of you who've been participating today. I hope you found it valuable. The session has been recorded, and the updated presentation and additional information and the recording will be available on NSLC soon and available for you to repeat or to share with colleagues. Happy service learning.
Yes. Happy Easter, happy Passover, happy service learning.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The chairperson has disconnected. The conference will now end.